Hello, everyone. Today I would like to bring a deck profile to you of a nice little chaos composition. Um, Personally, it's one of my favorites, and I'm pretty sure it's a favorite of Yu-Gi-Oh in general. Just from everybody else as well. I've been tinkering this deck for a very long time just to try to get it as competitive as possible, and I think that I'm almost there. I still have a few tweaks I need to make out, but this is my current iteration. So let's get on to it because I'm very excited to show this off. And of course, I am running a very small lightsworn engine, very synonymous to Chaos itself. So I'm running 3 Raiden, of course. It's just good. On normal summon, use the effect, mill 2. And then on the end turn, you mill another 2. Mills are good, especially when you can just activate the mill. So I call it my slight sworn engine because I'm only running 5. Only 5 light sworns. And then here's on to another little package that I'm surprised people haven't caught on to yet. For Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. And Chaos Emperor, of course. It's funny how many people don't understand like how well this works into any Chaos engine, and even Dragon Link, which is really concerning because you would think that Dragon Link would be, because these are also dragons, 3 lights and a dark, and then you can pay 5 to search. Like, yeah, you could be affected by Droll, but for game 1, it's not too much. And then whatever you banish, you can just add back with Chaos Emperor. So I don't quite understand. So let's just get into the effect. For Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, you're not really going to use the scale effect. Well, I mean, you're going to use it a lot actually, but mostly for like special summoning dragons. Like, you're not going to be using any of that. So you're only really using it to discard it, pay 500, and pretty much add your Chaos Emperor to your hand. And then its scale effect in itself is when it's put into a scale. Okay. You can pop it and then special summon a XYZ, a synchro or a fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it. That's key. Okay, because there's going to be a lot of those monsters in the graveyard to special summon. Okay, and it is huge. And then Chaos Emperor effect. You whether it's in your extra deck or in your hand, you can banish a light and a dark and special summon it. That comes up sometimes through the hand, but not really, because you're usually going to scale it first, and its scale is you can pay 1,000, target a dragon monster that's banished, and add it to your hand, and then pop this card and put it in your extra deck. That's also huge because you're banishing a lot. So this is like free real estate. The only downside to Chaos Emperor Dragon is if you have a link out, it kind of kills you a little bit, even though you're not special summoning and you still try, or you're not pendulum summoning. When you try to special summon it from the extra deck, it has to go to where a link monster points to if it's on the field. That kind of blows. But other than that, it's huge because it's another rank 8, and then if it leaves it field by like a link summon or whatever, it goes back to the bottom of the deck. So then if you have another card and you can't, or another Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, and you can't do anything with it, well, then you can search this out again just by discarding another one, paying 5,000 or 500. It's pretty legit. I love it a lot. All these effects come up way too often for people not to be playing them. Just keep that in mind. And you could also run like other dragons as well in here. So if you want to run a couple of more pendulum cards, you can. But this is just what works for me for now. And then I play 2 Chaos Creator. Really good card. You don't need more than 2. You can run just 1 if you really want to, but I feel as if I mill this card more times than not for whatever reason. So its effect is banish a light and a dark. special summon this. And then choose 3 of your banished monsters. Place 2 of them on the bottom of your deck and special summon the other one. So, really, it's just a free extender. And then, more times than not, it gives you another level 8 so you can go to your rank 8 plays. But you can go, like, special summon another Raiden if you really want to. Or if you have the extenders to go into, like, another Sync 8, then that would be perfect as well. Or, you know, maybe you need a rank 4. Like, who knows? Like, it's so versatile. I would at least play 1. But 2 seems to be the go-to for now. And then we have 2 Chaos Valkyria. This card is good, but it has a major drawback, as in its effect to special summon itself. So I have had problems with this card in the past being negated, and then you can't special summon it. So something like Diana would probably be a little bit better, or just something that can get it out for this second copy. So you might as well play 2, but if you have a Diana, then I would suggest cutting this down to 1. It's a good effect if you can get into the graveyard. And it's searchable through Chaos Space, so that's good. And then when it's banished, you can send a card or a monster card from the deck to the graveyard. Or I believe it's just any card. Oh, you can send 1 light or dark monster. Apologies. I only have light or dark monsters, so kind of helps. Yeah, but its effects are negated for the rest of the turn. So in the graveyard, banished, on field, doesn't matter. Even if it goes back to your hand, still negated. It's just that card's name. So 2 is enough. 3 is overkill. 1 would probably be better. But this is just what I run, what I have success with. And it's shiny. You can never beat shiny. And then next, 2 malicious. Malicious is a really nice extender. And what's going to be funny about this is when because that this Synchro 10 that was just announced, that's an Omni Negate. What? This plus Raiden equals that. And that's like the freest thing you could ever see in your entire life. Like, it's so good. I can't wait for that. I really can't, because there's a lot of space in this deck. There really is. There's a lot of cards that you can take out and exchange. Oh, yeah. This is not necessarily a brick in hand, because there's going to be a lot of ways to discard it. And once you do, like, you can recycle it as well, which is pretty nice. Chaos Creator, put it at the bottom of your deck. Maybe summon the other Malicious Bane after you already used one. Or not Malicious Bane, but 1 Malicious after you've already used 1. And then you have 1 special summon, 1 in the deck, so you link that off, and then you have another 1 in the graveyard, then use it again. It's bonkers. Like, it has to stay at 2. When they put this card at 3, it was the biggest mistake of their life. For Konami, at least. So. And going on to the 2 bricks, I play 2 Wolf, because you kind of need Wolf for a milling deck. It's much better than Fleece, because this can be sent anywhere from anything, and Fleece has to be sent by a monster effect, so it's just generically better. And you can technically search it off Chaos Space, which is bad, but yeah, so you'd use it. Get your mills, because off Chaotic Ruler, that's 5 mills. One of them could be them, which would be real good. You need it because Raiden also, so once you need to get into the Sync 8, you know, and there's a lot of ways to send cards from your deck to the graveyard before even going into Chaotic Ruler. So 2 is a perfect amount. I think you need more than 1. 3 is just too sacky and probably too bricky. So, and now for the power 1-ofs. All right. Levianeer. Levianeer is very interesting. I don't really go into this card way too much, But normally when I only need to go into it if I have like 4 dark or 3 darks in the graveyard, so I can just rip a card. It makes everything so much easier if you can rip a card out of your opponent's hand. So this is technically more like a glass cannon build, but if it goes off, it can really go off. Um, it's just generically a good card. You can ban it, like send it to the graveyard off Ravine, pick it up with Chaotic Ruler. It's just, or not Chaotic Ruler, but for your Armageddon. It's just too good not to play. Plague Spreader. Plague Spreader is just a fantastic card in general. Just to put it on. You really want to use it when your opponent Lancy is, because that could potentially kill them. So its effect is if it's in the graveyard, you could put a card in your hand on top of your deck and special summon it from the graveyard, but remove it from play when it's sent to the graveyard. But if you can't remove it, it just goes back to the graveyard. And this is not a once per turn effect, so you can just keep using it to link climb. So if they can't stop that, then if you have like Access Code Talker, just go burr. And if you have another card that you can special summon out of your hand for no reason, then you can link climb again, depending on how many cards in hand. But this deck can get decent amount of cards in hand. So this is also good if you have Malicious in the graveyard, Malicious, then you can special summon another level 8 if you so choose. I think it just has so much utility. And then Photon Thrasher. Photon Thrasher is just good. Special summon it if you control no monsters. So if you open this and Raiden, free. Your combo has just started off that, so that's the best hand in the game, or for this deck at least. Bigfoot, I'm testing it right now. I don't know if I'm going to be keeping it. I might play Mothman or Chupacabra. I don't know yet. I don't know how much that this is actually going to come up. I just use this to debrick hands, because there are some times where you just can't do anything with the hand that you have, and you got to send something to the graveyard. Hopefully you send something bad or something that can do something in the graveyard, and that's the whole point. So if you need to run more D-brick cards, I would definitely suggest more dangers, because they're just generic extenders, and even if they're sent to the graveyard by their own effect, they have other effects, which helps decent amount, and it's a dark. Some past iterations I've had trouble with getting darks into the graveyard, because almost everything that you need is like light. So this kind of helps a lot, because it can extend and put a dark in your graveyard. And then if it's sent by its own effect, just pop a card. Like, so it's a pretty good going second effect as well. So right now I just put it in, so we'll see how it works. All right, Starleech Seifert. I like this card a lot because it can start and it can end. Okay, so if you need to go like a generic Dragon Link route, it's got you covered. Okay, this has a pretty decently small Dragon Link size engine in it. So on the field, tribute, send a card from your hand to the graveyard. Get a dragon type that equals the stars that was sent to the graveyard. So, just anything that you need out of your hand, send it off. Get a dragon. Most likely, you're going to be sending a level 4, so you can get your babies and just start from there. And then if it's in the graveyard, banish it. Add a level 8 light or dark dragon from your graveyard to your hand. Also very nice, just in case you mill some cards that you need in your hand, like Levianeer, something like that. And then kind of a weird card that I like to play is Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. He's pretty nice. I like him for the Dragon Ravine plays, so if you somehow get him into the graveyard, um, beforehand, and you get Romulus out. You search your ravine, place your ravine down, use the effects, send a brick, and then send something that does something in the graveyard, and then use its effect because it says um, return one card you control to your hand and special summon this card. You minus 400 life points on yourself, but that's fine. And you can only use this once per duel, which is kind of a weird clause, but okay. This is perfect because Dragon Ravine's not once per turn. It's not a hard once per turn. So you just place it down and use the effect again. Perfect. You know? So you have an extender here. Okay. And even if it's your hand, if you have Romulus on the field, like I'll get to it later, but if you have like Romulus to the field, and you special summon a dragon to a zone that it points to, you can special summon a dragon and or wing beast, or not and sorry, or wing beast from your hand to a zone that this points to. And you know what this is? This is a wing beast. So it's technically not a brick when it's in your hand if you have Romulus on the field. Then you can special summon it there. It's pretty nice. I like it. I think it synergizes pretty well, and I've had most of that stuff come up. One Noctivision Dragon. This is a great card. I just wish it wasn't a hard once per turn on both effects. So if you have a Dark Dragon out on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Like when a Dark Dragon is special summoned to your side of the field, you can special summon on this side of your hand, which is nice. I like that effect. And then when this card is used for a link summon, draw one card. Nuts. I mean, it's pretty good. That's why it's at one. You can run two if you really wanted to, but there's a lot of times where I'm banishing it and then adding it back with Armageddon, and then boom, boom, boom. We have a lot of things that we can do. I usually use both effects. I usually do, because we're summoning a lot of Dark Dragons. Just a really good card. And then, of course, we got both babies. Babies are great. Synergizes with Chaos Space. You don't really need to know what they do. Black, you special summon by removing a light monster. Okay. And then white, you remove by special summoning a dark monster. Simple. And then when they leave the field, they search for each other. And then usually you have like a chaos space in the graveyard, so you chaos space when the other one's in the graveyard, put it back, and then search for it again. It's just free real estate. That's why these are a 1. Trick Clown. Trick Clown's good one of. You can only use its effect once per turn, which is fantastic. If this card's sent to the graveyard, pay 1,000, special summon it. Its attack and defense go to 0. That's fine, because we're just using it to extend anyway. Just good. Use it off chaos space to get the most advantage. And then a card that I like to play that most people don't is Galactic Spiral Dragon. It has a lot of utility in the deck, and I really like it because I've got a decent amount of rank 8s that I go into, and this helps with everything. Okay, so its first effect is if I have 2 light and or dark monsters on the field, I can special summon this card from the hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Its second effect, you activate its second effect. All monsters on your side of the field become level 8. Broken. I think it's broken because there are a few other cards that I use, you know, sometimes it's like Plague Spreader or whatever. Use Plague Spreader effect, blah, send it back, have this, make everything level 8s and overlay, because then anytime that you overlay and like use effects, if you send it to the graveyard, then it just goes to the graveyard because it doesn't get removed from the field the first thing. It goes into technical quote unquote space and then it gets removed from the field, which is fantastic because then it just goes to the graveyard after that because it's not in or on the field at that point. So it's nice. All right, time for our spells. I wonder if you've seen this coming, but we're running 3 Chaos Space. Good card. So essentially, you use the effect, send a light or dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, and search for the opposite. Perfect. And then if you somehow don't get it in your opening hand and don't get it at all, if it's in the graveyard, then you can banish this and have a um light or a dark that cannot be normal or special summoned in your graveyard, or banished, sorry, put it under your deck and then draw one. Which is just so good. It's just generically good. So you're pretty much recurring all the cards that you're losing off that. So it's fantastic. The one of call, I would use multiple, but we only have one because they refuse to give us crossout designator for whatever reason. But it is what it is. I just use it because this is more of like a glass cannon build. So you need cards that are going to help you survive, because one or two hand traps, you're done. Droll, you can play through Droll. Lancia, it's hard to play through Lancia, but you can do it. It's just, you don't want to play through those if you don't have to. You know what I mean? And then I play three triple tactics talons. You need it. Glass cannon. It doesn't matter if you're going first or going second. People are most likely, unless the other people are like really good, which people don't normally shotgun things and remote duels and stuff like that. So it may be a little bit hard to activate these, but I would highly suggest, because either ripping out a card or drawing two is just too much of a advantage to not do. And depending on if they have like dragoons or whatever, then you can take their dragoons and just win there. So it's just too good. So if your opponent uses a monster effect during your main phase, you can play this card. It's got three effects: either draw two, take control of one of your opponent's monsters, or rip a card. Look at your opponent's hand, look at it so you get that information, and then send one of those cards back to their deck and they shuffle. It's just a really good card in general. That's why I'm playing three of, because even though there's spells and you really don't want a lot of spells in this deck, it synergizes pretty well, and it's at a very low count where it's not too much of a problem in affecting your mills, because you at least kind of want to see one. And yeah. And then, of course, 3 Charge of the Light Brigade, because Charge of the Light Brigade's broken. Okay. I mean, for cost, you send 3 to the graveyard. Okay. And then you add a level 4 or lower lightsworn monster from your deck to your graveyard, or to your hand. So essentially, if you had a lightsworn and you milled it, and even if you don't have a target in the deck, you did have a target in the deck, so it's still legal. Okay, you just don't search. You just tell them, well, didn't have it. So yeah, this is good. So it searches your raid and puts 3 cards in the graveyard for your extenders, hopefully, and then you just sync off and do whatever you need to do there. It's just a good card. And then if worst comes to worst, you can search your wolf. Ugh. I've had to do that once where I milled the raid and I'm like, are you kidding me? All right. 1 Foolish Burial. Obvious. It's, you just send a monster from your deck to your graveyard. Send a wolf. Send a malicious. Send Galactic Spiral. Send whatever you need. If you need a light, if you need a dark, just send whatever. 1 Dragon's Ravine, we use it to search. Its effects are you can discard a card, add 1 Dragoonity something. I don't use that. 1 level 4 level Dragoonity from your deck to your hand. Don't use that. We use it to send a dragon from the deck to the graveyard. Very important. We run a lot of dragons to make this live. Okay. 1 Rhoda, obvious. If you don't have charge of the Light Brigade to get Raiden, then you get Raiden. If you already have Raiden, then you pick up your Photon Thresher. Simple. And for the last card, Monster Reborn, just generically pretty good. You always kind of want to see it. If you don't, you don't. If you do, you do. It's pretty nice. All right, on to the extra deck. We run one Pisty. We don't run LP. Pisty is the one that comes up the most because it is a... We're going to be milling a lot of cards from our deck to the graveyard. And if you have a Link Monster pointing to 2 zones, or a Link Monster is pointing to 2 zones, then you can special summon a dragon from your graveyard or banished pile, which is very good, okay, to a zone that they both point to, which is very good, and which is why we would use Pisty over LP, because LP is the other way around. It special summons from the deck or hand, I believe, and we don't really have too much in the deck most likely, so it's just Pisty's better. You could run either or you could run both. There's a lot of space in this extra deck, so which you're going to be able to see. So this is why I run this. Or you can run Striker Dragon and do that other thing, but that's just too many spells that you would have to add in. So, all right, 1 IP at Masquerena. Masquerena is great. She's here for unicorn plays. She's also here if you need to put a Link 2 down, because it's just 2 effect monsters, and it really doesn't affect too much, because if you're going to have it in the extra monster zone, you still have 2 arrows downward to place monsters, so it's not too bad. And then if you have another card, then you can go into your unicorn, and another special card that I'm going to talk about later, which is bonkers, by the way. 1 Dragoonity Knight Romulus. Romulus is here to search. You want to search that Dragon's Ravine. If you send it to the graveyard by card effects, sad. Very sad. Makes the deck go by pretty slow. If you want to play 2 Dragon's Ravine, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea, because you kind of need one. You kind of need one. So his effect is 2 dragon or winged beast monsters, which also comes up because if you, like I said, if you're running that Zephyros and you have him on the field, then you can use him and a dragon and then get the same result. Okay. So you can add a Drani Speller Trap or Dragon's Ravine from your deck to your hand, which is neat. And then he does that thing where if a dragon special summon to a zone that it points to, then you can special summon a winged beast or dragon from your hand. Pretty good. So Zephyros again, you know. So this card you kind of need. I really like this card, okay, because it just goes so well, makes everything so much easier. Highly suggest. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, of course. IP, any problematic cards, spend. Most of the time it's going to be linked up. Discard a card, draw, you know, get you more, you unbrick your hand, you do other things. It's just nice disruption. Here's another card that you can be switched out. Borlode Sword Dragon. Sorry, not Borlode. Boral Sword Dragon. I like to run it because Pisty locks you into dragons, and if you have no way to get out of that, then you're going to have to link out. You know what I'm saying? So if you have no way to get Pisty off, most likely you're going to be using Romulus to get Pisty off. But if you don't, then you're going to need another way. And this is where he comes into. You can run any sort of other dragon to get out of that if you want. But I think Boral Sword is just the easiest to go into. And it has a lot of game-saving effects as well. And it can OTK. Or if you want to keep that in and take this next card out, you can. Because I play Access Code Talker. You don't need to play Access Code Talker if you already have Boral Sword. It's just a nice generic, you know, Link 4 to play. So essentially, if you link into this, the highest Link monster that you used for it You gain the attack times 1,000 per link rating. So most people have a link 3 that they have down in there, and they use this and another monster to go into it, and they gain 1,000 or 3,000 attack. And then its second effect, or you can't respond to effects. So once it's doing this, you can't respond to it, and then its effect after it happens is to remove a link monster from your graveyard and blow up a card. Can't respond to it, but you can do that as many times as you have link monsters in the graveyard. It's just a nice card going for game. I like it. I like it a lot. Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess, for your next one. Apollousa is just a fantastic card in general. I'd use it 100%. Most of the time, you're getting it out as a link 3, which is perfectly fine because you got other ways to get other negates on the board. So this is just a good card just to have. It puts out a win monster, and 2, there's just a lot of ways to protect it. Okay, and this card, if you don't want to main deck it, I highly suggest sideboarding because there's not a lot of room, or there's a lot of room to sideboard. Underworld of the Closed Goddess is a fantastic card. You can either use... I go second. I always go into this because people are so surprised that I've just linked off their Dragoons, or I linked off something else. And it's also a form of disruption as well. Like, it's a super disruption because if you have IP out and you use IP and then you link away one of their monsters with it, then use the effect to negate their whole board. They just go and then they pretty much scoop afterwards. It's just too much of a good card. And then because it's unaffected by AoEs to begin with, so that's fantastic. And then it can negate a monster effect that happens in the hand. So it just says negate. So it's fantastic. Really good kind of pseudo negate. And if you don't want to play it in your main board, you don't have to. You don't have to. But I highly suggest citing it. And then taking out the Apollousa and going this, and then, side it back in, because there's a lot of room in the side deck. There's a lot of room in the extra deck too, but, you don't have to. Another one of my tech spice cards is Queen Dragon Jin. I like this card. It's just a generic rank 4. Only takes 2. When it's on the field, it's a continuous effect, doesn't matter. Dragons that you control can't be destroyed by battle except for herself. But its second effect is good, where you can detach a material from this card and special summon 1 level 5 or higher dragon type monster from the graveyard. So in almost every single case, it's going to be Noctivision Dragon. And where this comes in handy is most likely you're going to have Romulus on the field. You're going to have this in the middle. Use the effect, special summon Noctivision Dragon. Okay, and then you link off into either Apollousa or close the Goddess card. Goddess of the Closed World. Now, Apollousa would be 3 negates, but if your opponent has a monster on their side of the field, then you can go into that the Closed World. And in that situation, you have a chain block going on because Noctivision activates, and then you activate her effect to negate their board. So it's pretty nice because then you draw a card and life is good. And then this card's in the graveyard. And you can technically special summon this back from with Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, but you don't really want to do that. But I would highly suggest you run that. It's just too good not to. And I get that combo so many times. So many times. For the next rank 4, we got Abyss Dweller. I'm thinking about taking this out for Gaga Cowboy because I have never put this card on the field. Never. Never. But once again, flex spot, play whatever. Hope Harbinger, simple. 2 rank 8s. Negates his spell or trap, and it puts it under this card, which is very important, especially for like Shaddolls are invoked. So you use that as material, and it's great. And as a second effect, you can detach material and redirect an attack to it. So that's fantastic. And there's also a thing where it came up where its other effect is if a XYZ is destroyed, you can target a dragon monster, I believe, or some type of monster, and make it gain the attack of that destroyed XYZ, which came up once when I had to remove a Megaclops because I had a side deck card that I needed to mill into the graveyard. I got that card out. It special summoned itself. I was able to destroy a card, which I destroyed my Queen Dragon Jin, and then I put that attack onto him, and then I attacked over Megaclops. It was kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I'm like, it worked, you know? So I was happy about that. So there's our little niche situations that this card can come in for one of those effects. And then another one of my tech spices, Coach King Giant Trainer. Fantastic card, by the way. Yeah. So pretty much he takes 3 rank 8s, which is really, or 3 level 8s. Really easy to make, by the way, with Galactic Spiral. So really, his effect is detach material from this card, draw a card, reveal it, and if it's a monster card, burn for 800. If they ash this card, no problem, because we can use it up to thrice per turn, which means if they ash it, sure, that effect is negated right then and there. But you can activate it 2 more times and then draw 2 more. So they just wasted an ash. But if ash is out here at this point, then they're doing something wrong. I use it for spice. Then it becomes like linked off or whatever. Mostly used for IP Masquerena at that point. I love this card for time. Either you're going to draw or you're going to win. And that's why I want to put Cowboy in here for another like super burn type deal. Yeah, it's only 500 damage or whatever the amount of damage is for that other one. But it'll probably come up. The burn damage is pretty hefty. It's over 2,000 if you get 3 monsters. So just think about that. And for the synchros, Overload Savage Dragon. You really don't go into this in the perfect hand. You would end on it. Like on a lot of perfect cases, you would end on it, but most of the time you don't. It's just there for like follow-up plays, because there's a good chance that you can follow up and make a Savage and just ensure game. And then, of course, the card that everybody's here to see, Chaotic Magical Ruler. Fantastic card. Fantastic card. When a synchro summon, send the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard, add a lighter dark monster from that. And that's it. And that's exactly what it does. That's exactly what it needs to do. And when it's in the graveyard, you can remove banish a light and a dark, special summon it. And the turn that was used, and if it leaves the field, it's banished. You don't really got to worry too much about that, because if you're using that effect, you're probably going to put it under a card for a material. So that's not too bad of an idea. And you mostly bring this card back out with Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. Scale Odd Eyes, pop it, put this card back, special summon it. It's fantastic. I love it. This comes up so many times where I need an extender, boom, generic extender, bam. And they can't stop it. They can't stop it. It's fantastic. It's great. And for the last tech card that can be anything that you want, I highly suggest a Dark Dragon XYZ. Or not XYZ, sorry. Synchro Monster. Starlight Red Dragon Archfiend. Great card. I don't normally go into it. This is a time card, by the way. Also, its effect is you can use the effect, destroy all special summon monsters on the field except for itself, and burn your opponent for 500 per each card sent to the graveyard by that effect. So it's another time card because you can use all those burn cards that I showed you before, and if you're somehow able to get this out, then you can keep destroying monsters and burning your opponent. So if you're in time, then you're most likely going to win if they can't stop you. Okay, so this is why I use that, because it's another dark dragon. Okay, dark dragon is perfect for this, and it's just got such a good effect for time. And for sidecards, you don't really need to side anything. Okay, but here's the two cards that it still makes a glass cannon. So one is Felice. I take out a wolf in place for Felice because you're going to need a tuner in here, and it acts like as a pseudo disruption or pseudo destruction card. So if it's sent to the graveyard by a monster card effect, you can special summon it, and then you contribute it to destroy one card on the field. So most likely something problematic or to attempt to, and then once that resolves, you mill 3. Really good because you're going to need to mill in most cases. Okay, so most of the time this card likes to come up. I put it in there because you're going to need the tuner as well. So it's got multiple functions to the deck. And then you usually take out a wolf for it. And then you have Blackluster Soldier. Yeah, Envoy of the Beginning. You don't really want to main deck this card because it's got really have no use to it. And you would rather have the Dark Chaos Creator. But if you're going second and you need to remove problematic cards, this is not a hard once per turn, by the way. Okay, so you use the effect, banish a card, then you bounce it, send it to the graveyard, do whatever, add it back to your hand, and then banish a light and a dark, special summon, remove, banish another monster off their side of the field. It's just ridiculous. Put it back to your hand, and then the third time, most likely, there's not another card over there. Then you're like, okay, they only have one monster on the field. Perfect. Special summon a light, remove a light and a dark, special summon again, attack. Oh, affected attack again, and then just game them there. So really, this card's just removing problematic cards. You would replace Chaos Creator with this because at this point, going second, you don't really need that second Chaos Creator. I don't see too much of an issue with it conflicting. Or you can take out Bigfoot if you so choose, but I'm pretty sure Bigfoot is a damn good card to keep in. Because if it's, even if it's select itself, it can be a pop. So that's fine. And yeah. And the next 3 cards are what I usually side in. Is just Dark Ruler no more. Simple. Negates boards, and then you can go off and set your own board, and if they don't have a Dark Ruler no more, then they lose. Because you're most likely going off, because I highly doubt they have hand traps that are going to stop you. And yeah, that's it. This is one of my favorite decks, and I'm testing it out. Let me know what you think. See you guys later. Appreciate you watching this whole thing. See ya.